Hey everyone, it's Dave.
And it's Tom here.
And today we're taking a look at Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
It's quite a mouthful, huh?
Indeed it is.
So this is by the CyberConnect 2 guys who did Azura's Wrath and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and the upcoming Final Fantasy VII remake. They've got a hand in this, I believe. So as I understand it, this is their very last Naruto game.
It is, yeah. Basically, it's the first Naruto title for the current generation, or made for the current generation consoles. But it's also the game that wraps up the storyline. So we've got over 100 characters from throughout the series, and there's a couple of alterations or extra features they've done. So now you can run up walls, and you can also tag team between characters as well.
So in terms of the technical side, what do we have here? What resolution are we working with?
Well, it's pretty straightforward this time around. We're looking at native 1080p on both platforms, and they're pretty much identical. Post-process anti-aliasing, same level of AF, and the only difference is that I can see is the shadow quality is slightly higher on PlayStation 4, but other than that, we're looking at the same level of graphical quality on both consoles.
So is that just a bit of roughness on the edges of Xbox One shadows?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that?
PlayStation 4 shadows kind of look a little bit sharper and more defined, but it only affects certain objects, so a lot of the time we don't see much of a difference.
That's interesting.
It's not a major gap between the two.
So that leads us to the frame rate graph we're looking at it right here. It looks like it's a bit all over the place on Xbox One. Is that something that really affects the playability of it when we're actually in battle?
Not in actual combat, no. And when you're wandering around the towns in the adventure mode, then Xbox One tends to take a big hit in performance.
Okay.
But in combat, we see kind of an opposite scenario. Xbox One is solid 30 FPS for the most part, with just a few dips. And then PlayStation 4, on the other hand, has a few frame pacing issues.
Frame pacing, yeah.
So we get spikes to 60 milliseconds and then down to 50 milliseconds. So we get a little bit extra judder during combat that we don't see on Xbox One, which can be quite distracting at times. But when it comes to the two being under load, we see both versions drop down to around the mid-20s when there's a lot of alpha effects and transparencies. Yeah, basically. Yeah. But outside of that, it sticks pretty close to 30, other than this frame pacing thing on PlayStation 4 here. Xbox One occasionally has a few drops in frame rate which causes similar judder, but it's very sporadic. As you can see, it's a lot more solid on Microsoft's console during general run of play.
So I guess the last question is, do you dare recommend a single version? Is it that sort of thing, or can you just safely say, look, they're both very similar visually and the performance isn't great on either, they both have their quirks? Which would you go for, I guess, is the question.
So overall, it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. Basically, in terms of combat, the PlayStation 4 has frame pacing issues, which means you get judder that we don't see on Xbox One. But on the flip side, the adventure mode is a lot smoother. Performance is impacted a lot more on Xbox One, and that means the experience there isn't quite as good.
So you'd go for the PS4 version if you had a Joy-Con? It doesn't quite matter so much between the two. You're going to get...
Yeah, I mean, both have issues in different areas. As it stands, I think PS4 is the better choice at the moment, as the performance drops there aren't as bad.
Right.
But hopefully we will get a patch to improve things. But as it stands, I think PS4 is the better of the two at the moment.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like below and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. And until next time, thanks for watching.
Indeed, see you next time.